We continue our story with Stormfront and her soldiers pretty much on the island at this point, confiscating everything from the people and pretty much just kind of bullying them, considering the fact that, well, Hawaii itself is kind of looked at less as advanced in the boys' universe because we honestly know how they operate. I mean, they're pretty racist with soups and stuff like that, which is absolutely diabolical. You can actually see Stormfront kind of bullying and belittling the people, saying that she'll be here for maybe a couple of days. It's nice to know that I can come to an island and be worshipped and praised and have some little islanders dance for me. But right now, I do have an investigation to run, and is everyone here? To which this is where one of the soldiers simply say, no, there are a couple houses and even some people in the cities that are, doing the thing. To which Stormfront says, good, I'll be paying a visit to the houses. Make sure you round up everyone and, yeah, make sure they actually do cater to my every whim. And if you're wondering why the military is doing this for Stormfront, keep in mind this is the boys' own private army. But this is where we head to Nani's house, and this is where they're actually getting to know Zilla a bit better. His background, I guess you could say his morals and his ethics and stuff like that. And Nani does begin to actually warm up to him now, and this is where he and Stitch actually do form a bond as well, with him actually being able to get Stitch to fully talk to him, and kind of like fluently as well, with Stitch saying, since I'm portrayed as a dog, you could be portrayed as one too. To which Zilla looks at him like, what? Little man, what? Blue alien, what? To which Nani's like, okay, that's enough, you two. Let's not get crazy and run over the house or chase each other at this point. However, this is where Nani goes to the door, and when she answers it, it's Stormfront. And this is where Nani kind of gets a little bit nervous, as she's pretty much heard of how the heroes are, which is why Hawaii's kind of been a bit more peaceful than the rest of the world. And she's like, oh, hi, how can I help you? To which Stormfront was like, I was actually wondering why you weren't at the beach, you little islander. And this is where she simply states, can you please hand me something to drink? I am quite parched from my time here. To which she's like, oh, yes, of course. To which Nani goes to the kitchen, and Zilla sees her nervously pouring the cup. And they both give each other a look, with Nani kind of giving a please help me look. And this is where he simply tells Stitch, grab Lilo and find a place to hide. To which Stitch picks up what he's talking about and immediately grabs Lilo, who immediately complies and just goes. To which this is where Stormfront takes the drink in a rude fashion, I might add. And this is where she's like, so, what you little islanders hiding in here? To which Nana is like, oh, nothing, just me and my roommate here, just living pretty peacefully, actually. It's been a while since my boyfriend died, and I am just trying to grieve in my own process. To which this is where Zilla pretty much comes up and it simply states, do we have a problem? And this is where Stormfront's like, oh, okay. So you got yourself a new boy toy? Is that what I'm getting here? To which Dottie's like, no, it's not like that. He's my friend. He actually helped me out when my boyfriend died of a shark attack. Yeah. And this is where Stormfront's like, okay, I expect you both at the beach and prepare to worship and provide some entertainment for me, I should say. And this is where Zilla's like, entertainment? For who? You islander. Towards Zilla laughs and like, so you expect them to cater to you. Plus, you sound a little bit privileged, if I might add. To which she says, soups are the superior race, and my people are just superior compared to you. Think those gym muscles are gonna help you out here? To which Zilla laughs harder. And Stormfront can see he's genuinely laughing at her. And this gets her angry. And she gets point blank in his face and says, go on, make a move. To which Zilla chuckles and states, really? You want me to make the first move? She was like, yeah, you're not gonna beat me. You're not gonna overpower me. You're not some soup. And why would I let some filthy islander touch me? And this where Zilla's like, oh, so that's where we're going with this. Alright, so this is where he tells Nani, is it okay if I do something? To which Nani's like, look, I would prefer you not do it in the house. To which he's like, okay, understandable. And this is where he puts his hand in a flicking motion using his thumb and middle finger and flicks Stormfront right out the door. And she goes like flying right towards the beach. He then jumps up and then jumps down, or basically super jumps and catches up to her immediately. And he says, now, what have we learned today? To which Stormfront was like, what? You're a monster. Not some darn soup. I'd rather prefer to be called a monster than be called some super. Especially when it comes to being compared to you. Prejudiced, racist, and downright evil. To which Stormfront simply states, you have no idea what you're doing. I can't believe they allowed your kind to even be a super, or even any form of power. To which he's like, dang, you really are a supremacist. Even if you're not a soup one, or maybe you are a soup supremacist. I don't know. Wasn't really paying attention to your whole big speech about how everyone is superior or the whole master race agenda. You are absolutely deplorable, and you do not deserve to live. To which Stormfront was like, really? And what you gonna do about it? To which ZILLA says, well, depending on how this goes, I may actually kill you. Just because the world would be a better place with you definitely gone. To which she says, I used to say that a lot about your kind. Or any kind that's not me. Or my kind individually. Whether it be soups or the others. But maybe, just maybe, I'll actually enact it this time. A whole racial genocide. Just like my former allies used to do. To which he's like, wait a minute, yes, I am one of those. To which Zilla's like, oh, so I'm actually going to have fun killing you. It's never been a great privilege to kill somebody, but I guess for you, I'll make the exception. So this is where ZILLA actually closes the distance and straight up tackles her into the ground. To which Stormfront uses her electricity to push ZILLA off of him, but it's not very far. It's like an inch off of her, enough for her to get out. But then this is where she dumps everything into it, trying to fry him. But not only is his suit capable of tanking this, he is as well. Kraken had more powerful electricity, and he withstood that no problem, even with an open wound. And he simply tells her, that the best you got? Come on, how about you try a little harder now? Give me everything. To which Stormfront says, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. You dare insult me? You dare attack me? I'm superior compared to you. To which Zilla's like, And keep in mind, he's doing this as he withstands electricity. And is like, yeah, not even sizzling. Could you maybe turn it up a little bit? And this is where Stormfront begins pouring. And I do mean pouring all of her power into it. Like, she's giving everything here. To the point where the ground around ZILLA begins to turn into glass. That's how much she's pouring into him. And this is where when she's done, and there's nothing more than like a smoke cloud around him, ZILLA stands there unfazed. It's not even sizzling him. Not his skin, not even his hair follicles. His hair follicles don't even move or show that he's been electrocuted. And he simply looks at her like, I find it hilarious that you heroes think you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, because you have this power, because you were given a little bit of juice, a little bit of Kool-Aid, and this is what you got. To which Stormfront's like, you can't do this. Do you know who I am? To which he's like, yeah, I know. You're a member of the Seven, one of the weakest beings on this planet. Not both in terms of power, but in terms of morality. You see, I've met beings far stronger than you, and far greater than you'll ever be. But let me show you what a monster or what a being of pure power really is. And this is where he turns into his kaiju form, and Stormfront flies up as fast as she can, narrowly missing his jaws. Like, she almost gets clipped by it. But again, she's narrowly able to avoid it. And this is where she pours her electricity into it. And Zilla decides to toy with her a little bit, putting everything, well, sorry, not everything, putting a light bit of weight and force into a tail slap she cannot avoid. He's using more speed than power, but keep in mind when the tail moves, it's a blur. He then decides to ram into her, kind of like flicking her up, and then simply just, well, tail smacking her right back, and then treats her like a volleyball with his tail. You know how Beerus was like toying with his energy blast with his tail? This is what he's doing to Stormfront. And Nani's like, dang, this dude's got a lot of power. I like him. To which this is where Stormfront then begins to just rain down electricity upon him, and Zilla simply gives a kaiju-like laugh, one that sends a chill down Stormfront's spine. And he's like, come on, this time I won't even let you hit me. It's kind of like he's daring her in his own kaiju format. And this is where Stormfront actually charges at him, and he dodges it. But this time, it's in his kaiju form. So keep in mind, he took all that stuff just for the fun of it. And this is where he decides to put a little bit of force into his tail swing. Not enough to kill her, because he still wants to play with her a little bit. And this is where he simply uses his tail strike to basically smack her right underneath, basically giving her like a little bit of an uppercut before coming right down with it, basically smashing her into the sand. This is where he looks at her and simply looks like, I'm actually getting bored here. I need something else to do. Might just kill her and then just go ahead and look for something else. But this is where he gets struck right into the neck by a missile. This doesn't even make him yell out in pain, as he kind of looks like, okay, so y'all just saw me take out an entire super being, right? So whose bright idea was it to hit me? And this is where he turns around and sees the military, and he's like, okay. So I'm just going to act like I never withstood a nuke before, or the fact that I've been literally grinded or trained or traumatized to actually withstand this stuff. So it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to end this power breath. And so this is where he just simply just annihilates the ground military, straight up scorching them and melting through their vehicles with the, I guess you could say, the concussive force, or the flammable force of his breath, right? And this is where he begins stomping on them, moving through them, and then simply just, he's stepping on them. At this point, it's just kind of funny. Then you have the helicopters trying to get around him, and he simply snaps his jaws at him, just straight up, just annihilating the military. However, this is where something comes out of the sky with a sonic boom and strikes him right in the back. This doesn't cause him to, like, any damage or anything, but it does cause him to take a slight step forward to kind of regain himself a little bit. And this is where he's like, okay, someone threw something a little bit harder at me. I wonder what that was. And this is where he kind of just turns around, and this is where he's like, oh, great. Now I got to deal with both of them. And this is where everyone looks up and sees Homelander. Yeah. The great big blonde-haired and blue-eyed savior himself. And this is where Nani kind of thinks to herself. She's like, can he really take on both of them at the same time? This might be a bit much. I hope it doesn't destroy the island. And this is where Nani simply runs back inside when Zilla kind of gives her that look like, hey, you might want to get your sibling out of here. So she runs back inside, gets Lilo and Stitch, and they kind of sneak out through the back of their house and hopefully find a safe place after that point. And this is where, or basically Nani goes to regroup with the rest of the citizens to kind of hide out in plain sight. And this is where Stormfront simply flies up and says, it took you long enough. To which Homelander is kind of in a little bit of disbelief at what he sees. It's like a whole monster, a whole kaiju right in front of him. So he's like, you were struggling with this? To which he's like, yeah. This guy was strong. I don't understand how someone like him has power. To which he simply states, you gotta keep that prejudice in line. To which he's like, what? He's right. She's right, huh? No one should be stronger or superior to them. You're supposed to be stronger and better, right? To which Homelander's ego does kind of get stroked a little bit when it comes to this. And this is where he's like, you know what? All right, fine. Let's kill this thing and get it over with. Then you could do whatever you want with the island. To which Stormfront is like, I like that idea. So Zilla simply, can honestly hear what they're saying at this point, and he kind of just readies himself. But this time, with Nani out of the picture or out of view, he decides that, you know what? He's not going to play around. So Homelander and Stormfront, when they attack him, he decides that he's going to move. He's going to outmaneuver. He's going to outsmart. And this battle turns into a one-sided beating. He dodges the heat vision, dodges the electricity, rams into Homelander, tail smacks Stormfront this time with more force. He's holding back, yes, but he has no reason to go all out. Is he going to kill him? Yeah, he's definitely going to. But he wants to make sure that this is dragged out long enough for them to understand. Keep in mind, he knows there's possibly cameras watching. So now that the two strongest members of the Seven are getting absolutely embarrassed, he's got no reason to really just hide himself. He wants people to know that someone is out there. Someone is strong enough to beat these heroes and put them in their place. Keep them in check if needed. And it never took another super to do so. It took a monster, a kaiju, to basically destroy them, to pummel them, to make them, I guess you can say, feel truly small in a world that is now changing ever more. So not only does he beat them, this is where he even begins to tank their attacks. Sure, he can misstep or at least get a little too overconfident, but again, he's fine. No one's going to hurt him. No one's going to be able to beat him, in all honesty. And the funny part is, how could they? How could they stop him? How could they beat him? How could they even harm him? Everything they do is minor. Everything they do is simply, I guess you can honestly say, useless at this point, right? Homelander's heat vision and Stormfront's electricity, even when they are combined, means absolutely nothing in the face of them. They can't do anything. They can't even scratch him. Homelander even tries to shoot him in the eyes with his heat vision. Tries to even punch him in the eye, but his fist bounces off as Zilla kind of like rubs it like, ugh, what the heck? You really just touched my eye? Dude, like, why? Ew, like, why you touching me? Ew. And so this is where he pretty much just, in all honesty, he does outmaneuver and ultimately does dominate Homelander and Stormfront. However, this is where Stormfront gets smacked around a bit. And this is where, as she's flying back up, she can see something. And this is Nani, Lilo, and Stitch. And she's like, huh. Okay. So that's where they were. So that's where they're hiding. Now I can make this creature really hurt. So this is where, as she simply tells Homelander that she has an idea on how to really hurt this creature, Homelander says, go for it. But this is where Zilla's keen senses actually pick up. And she sees that Stormfront is moving towards Lilo and Nani, and he can't, stomach that. So as she flies forward, she simply goes for him and then tail smacks Homelander so hard he goes unconscious and into the water. And Nani puts herself in front of Lilo and Stitch, and she says, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. But in the back of her mind, she's thinking, oh my god, she might die here. However, this is where Stormfront begins to retch and convulse, if you will. And this is where they're like, oh my god, you got her. And this is where you actually see Zilla holding onto Stormfront tight. You hear bones crunching, her skin, like, I guess you could say, being squeezed onto it. And this is where Stormfront is like, no, you can't do this. You can't. And this is where Zilla simply, I guess you could say, walks off with her to make sure that Lilo and pretty much Nani don't see what happens. And Nani's like, serves you right for being a prejudiced piece of, basically telling Nani that, or telling Zilla that make sure he makes it hurt. It really hurt. And Zilla simply turns to her, gives her a wink, And this is where he basically holds Stormfront right up to his face. And she's like, no, no, no. And then he simply raises a single claw. And Stormfront is struggling, screaming, no, no. But all you hear is her screams after that, as that one claw digs into her. Homelander eventually does get out the water, probably like 20 minutes after this occurs. Yeah, dude was unconscious for like a good minute. And this is where he sees the body of Stormfront. It could have been worse. Could have been scorched up. But nah, she has no leg. Half her face and half her eye is gone. Zilla carved it out of her. And he did it slowly, painfully, to make sure he understood. And this is where Homelander simply states, you'll pay for this. Do you hear me? You will pay for this. I'll kill you. I'll kill you all. And I'll burn this island down to the ground. And to which this is where Zilla simply states, oh, really now? You're gonna do that? Come on then. And by the way, he turned into his human form before that. So he kind of makes Homelander like look at him. Come on. Try it. I can do the same thing in this form and probably enjoy it 10 times more. To which Homelander looks at him and they get into a stare for a minute, with Zilla actually threatening to jump at him, if you will. And this is where Homelander flees right back to his country. Military dead, Stormfront dead, and his pride broken. He's not the strongest. He's not the fastest. He's not the superior being he should. But this is where we see a heartwarming moment between Nani, Zilla, and the rest of the citizens who actually honor Zilla as not only one of their own, but their own protector as well. But that's not where we leave off here. We go back to New York City, or wherever Vought, or whether the boys takes place. I think this is New York City, right? And this is where we actually see Bagora overhead, getting ready to feast on the citizens of this world. And that's where we're going to leave off here, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you guys for the next part.